we're going to look at the next file. And here it is. So serving files. So we've got a couple of ways we're going to look at serving files. There's IO copy, and then there's serve content, and there's serve file, and then there's file server. And so I'm going to start out the end actually and show you file server. And file server, you know, sounds pretty much just like what it does, right? It serves files, you know, or you know, it's a file server. It'll serve files. This sounds like it'll serve one file, serve file. This serve content. I'm not sure. Let's look at this last one here and see where we're headed. I think we saw this right here. So with just this one Go file right there, did I show this to you last week? I did, right? Like you get all of these files served. And some of you weren't here, so let me just show that. And I think that's it. That's not the one I want. 9932. Go run, and this is no longer App Engine, so it's go run main go. By the way, that when I say that now, it's one of my son's favorite books. So go run main go, I'm like thinking go dog go. He loves that book. So so that's running. So now localhost 9000. Right, all that's serving locally. Ooh, cool. And so that's just it. Listen and serve at this port, and then this has got to be a handler, right? And so HTTP dir file server. And then so that's kind of like serving a static site. And then here it gets a little bit more involved, strip prefix and things like that. So we'll kind of build up to that. But that's you know, you got to be able to serve files too. And so here on 26, let's see 26 in action. Control C. Change directories. Go run main. Yay! Dog name schedule HTML. Toby. Sweet. Right. So to make that happen, there's main. So you can see the different routes, right? So here we're going to run Uptown. What's Uptown do? We're going to set a response header, content type, text HTML. Cool. So anytime you know a client makes a request, you send over the request line and the headers. Server receives that, generates a response, sends back a status line, headers, and body. So that's that entire image. I just kind of want to cement that into my head, so I keep saying it to you all. Yuck, 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 yuck. Didn't I put in documents? HP diagram. Right. So request line, headers, status line, headers, content. I think you could also have body here if you have a post, right? You have it's not in the headers, it's in the body. So that's this line right here. We're setting the status line. No, yes, no, yes. We're setting a header. It's not the status line, we're setting a header. Okay, and the header is text HTML. And then we create a variable dog name, and we get the URL. So the request URL path gives me everything after here. So this is the domain, this is the URL path, right? And so the very first thing is right there, right between the 9000 and the slash. That'd be the first one. So when I say split on path, split, strings, split this string and split it by this, right? When I say split on path, what it's doing is anything from here forward, it's splitting it. So if I had more, mos, even mo, right? So more, we got 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Even mo is 4. So if I change this to dog name is that 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because here's the 0 position. I split, that's the first one. That's at the 1 position, that's at the 2 position, the 3 position, the 4 position. Right? So now if I reserve this and come here, this is going to say even mo. What happened? I need to just hit enter. Dang it. Toby, something. That's 1, 0, 1, 2, third, And here's the for, so we'll call the dog, what? What's that dog's name? Kilimanjaro. What the heck? That's some awesome badness right there. Right, but all I did is I took that string, split it up, split it on these, and then access one of the elements. Which element do I really want? I want the one at the 1 position. The 0 position would be right in front. The 1 position is right there. Right? And so if the length of the fields is greater than or equal to 2, meaning I got 0 and 1, so it's greater than or equal to 2, then I could make the dog name equal to whatever's in the URL. And then writing out, so write string takes a writer, implements the writer interface, right here, writer interface, and a string, and so it writes back, right? So the response implements the writer interface, so I could use that there. And the writer interface, to implement the writer interface, it has to have this method. So we know that this has that method. If we went in and looked at it, response writer would have that method, or it automatically implements it right here. Okay. So I write back to the client the dog name, and then I say image, and right here I'm making another request to the server, and it's /Toby.jpg. So anytime something comes to /Toby.jpg, this function runs, dogpick. And dogpick says open the file, and then defer the close, and then copy the file over to as the response. So it copies it over. Right? So it sends it over. So that's one way you could serve an image, is just copy the file. It's not a very good way, because there's a lot of stuff that isn't getting sent. So e-tags and information about, does this client already have this image? Do I really need to send it down the pipe to them again? If they already have it and they're just, you know, coming back to my page, they were there, coming back to the home page, they were there 5 seconds ago. Do I really want to take up their bandwidth and their time and increase their phone bill to send them the image once more? They already got it, right? I'm not able to check that or send that information when I send that image, right? All I'm doing is sending the image. That's it. So that's one of the problems we want to fix. And we can start to fix it, right? Same kind of setup down here. Now when we do dogpick, open the image, defer the close, get statistics, get the status, whatever the stat stands for. I have no idea. Stat is like information, right? Stat returns the file info, right? What's the stat? Like, I think medical when I hear stat. But that means quick in medicine, you know? ER, stat. What? Right? Like, stat returns the file info, structure describing file. If there is an error, it will be of type path error. So that's just, you know, we're getting the file info. And so here's the file info. And so now we could serve content, HTTP serve content, and we could send over the file name, and the last time it was modified. Okay? So we're serving that content back, and we have the entire request here. So serve content, I believe, will look at the name and when it was modified, and it will determine, because it has the request that came in from the client, and if the client was requesting something, it would also tell us, hey, I'm requesting this file. I already have this file, and last time it was modified was this date. Do you need to send me the new one? That's in the request, I'm pretty sure. We can look at that. And then serve content will then like look at that. And if you need the file, if we got a newer one here, I'll send it back. If not, you already got the current one. Will be what it gets. So let's look at what serve content says. Serve content replies to the request using the content in the provided read seeker. The main benefit of serve content over IO copy is that it handles range requests properly, sets the MIME type, and handles if modified since requests. If modified since requests. If the response's content type header is not set, serve content first tries to deduce the type from names file extension, and if that fails, falls back to reading the first block of the content, passing it to the detect content type. The name is otherwise unused. In particular, it can be empty and is never sent in the response. If mod time is not the 0-timer Unix epic, serve content includes it in the last modified header in the response. If the request includes an if modified since header, so if the request includes an if modified since header, serve content uses mod time to decide whether the content needs to be sent at all. Whoa. The content seek method must work. Serve content uses a seek to the end of the content to determine its size. If the caller has set W's etag header, serve content uses it to handle requests using if range and if none match. I'm not totally sure what that means. I haven't completely figured tags out. I mean, I understand the concept, but can't tell you much more than that. So that's what serve content's doing, and anyhow, let's see what comes over in the request. So let's go run this one, and this is in 31. Is that the one I just opened? That's not the one I just opened. That's right here. That one should be closed. Yeah. So it's 27. So first I'm just going to, well, let's just see what happens. Localhost 8080. I think I'm at 9,000, right? Cache. And dog named Toby. But let's look at that. So the request, text HTML, say this I accept coding, accept language, cache control, connection. You know, that's when I asked for index. And then the response, right, was content length, content type, and the date. What about when I asked for Toby? The request, accept image, web, accept encoding, accept language, cache control, connection keep alive, localhost, pragma refer, user agent, and the response, accept ranges, bytes, content length, image. I'm just looking for anything last modified in the response. It sent last modified, right? I don't have a last modified here. What happens if I refresh the page? You know, or I ask for this page again? Let me just refresh it, see if it does anything. Now here, no, I was thinking that maybe my computer would be like sending over, this is the last time this image was modified, I want this image, but I'm not seeing that anywhere in here. I don't see any modified dates or anything. I wonder if I could send that over in the file info, but I think that's when I'm requesting it. Where do I request it? Request it right here, and if that request comes in, it goes there. I don't know how I send that over. Anyhow, still learning territory for me. So let's look at serve file. So we looked at serve content. Now when somebody asks for Toby JPEG, we go dogpic, and here's serve file. Much more succinct, right? So let's see what serve file has to say. Replies the request with the contents of the named file. As a special case, serve file redirects any request where ends in that to the same path without the final index. To avoid such redirects, either modify the path or use serve content. So I don't see anything in there about checking the modified since and all that. And then we have file server. So here we have a file server. So I no longer have that thing, toby.jpg if somebody comes in that path. Instead I said, hey, I'm going to serve everything file server. And if it happens to be at /dog, then run the uptown function. The uptown function, so when somebody goes /dog, right, is going to again get the name, right, and then write the name and show the picture. When the picture comes in, that's not going to default to this, right? The picture is going to go to here. That's the closest match. And so that's going to run file server. And that's it, right? It'll serve the file. So file server returns a handler that serves HTTP requests with the contents of the file system rooted at root. It gets a little bit more complex when you don't want to serve everything like we just were at the entire root. You want to specify what the root is. And so here I'm specifying a different root than my website root. So I want to serve, inside here I have assets, and now I have Toby, the picture in there. And so I want to serve this image, assets Toby, right there. So to do that, I have to do all this. That's a crazy chunk of code right there. And I think I have no, that one's assets. That one's assets too. I thought I had, so let me change this. See if this helps. Resources. And this is going to be in the resources folder. Right? And so I'm asking for something in that folder. When something comes in, asked for at resources, I want to pull away resources. So make sure you tune into this if you're like looking away. This is important. So right here, right on line 19, I'm saying I want this resource, or I want this image, and it's at this location on the server. Okay, if something comes in at resources on line 24, right there, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to strip away resources. So when I strip away resources, right, the prefix, this got removed right there. What does that leave me with? When I strip that away, what's that leave me with? /toby.jpg, right? And now I have file server HTTP dir at my root. Go to assets. So let me change this to assets. Sorry, I'm just fixing my example. Yeah, spelled it wrong. No, because now, where am I serving from? I'm serving from assets, right? From this root, give me /toby.jpg. So that's like basically, right? So serve from there, /toby.jpg. So it's kind of funny. It's pretty funny. But changing the file name there, right, like resources, shows you that resources is getting stripped away. And then over in the HTTP dir, okay, what's going to be the root you want me to serve from? I want to serve from ./assets. Well, to serve from ./assets, any image in there, I need to have the slash and then the image name, right? And I'll be able to serve that image because it's HTTP file server from there. And what I'm stripping away is the resources from here just to get to the name. And the reason I changed that to resources is because it's easier to see than if this is all assets. It's hard to distinguish, right? Well, how's that relate? It just looks like a lot of repetitive redundancy. I could see the confusion on your face. Yeah. It takes a little time to get your head around it.
Sure why you did all that. Unless you thought it was in resources, but it turned out there was a folder named assets. That's where everything was. I mean, or were you just doing that just to...
Well, no, I did it like this.
Yeah.
Because this isn't pointing to a folder. We handle everything on the server. It could be a folder on the server, right? Okay. That's just whatever, an arbitrary path. So when something comes in at this path, it gets handled right here, right? That's the path that handles it.
And what do I set it to the assets folder?
What I do when something comes in at that path, I do all of that. And so the first thing I'm going to strip away, strip prefix, right? Well, what's that do? Returns a handler, strip prefix returns a handler that serves HTTP requests by removing the given prefix from the request URL's path and invoking the handler H. Strip prefix handles a request for a path that doesn't begin with a prefix by blah, 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 right? So it strips, it serves HTTP by removing the given prefix from the request URL's path. So it's going to remove the given prefix from the request URL's path. So it removed this, right, from here. And then what does file server do? File server returns a handler that serves HTTP requests with the contents of the file system rooted at root. To use the operating system's file system implementation, use HTTP dir. As a special case, the return file server redirection request ending in that. So we saw that already. But anyhow, this is the way they say to do it in the documentation I read somewhere. We could try to find it. So let's look for this. It's not a redirect.
It's directing
Godoc.org.
Virtual address to an actual address.
Yeah, but we're not doing the like 302 redirect, right, to another location. You asked for this, and I'm sending you somewhere else, and that's my response is you got redirected. We're not doing that.
Okay.
So strip prefix. Okay, here's example strip prefix. To serve a directory on a disk under an alternate URL path temp files, use strip prefix to modify the request URL path before the file server sees it. Well, that's one use of strip prefix. Strip prefix returns a handler. That's what we read already. Same example. File server strip prefix. That's one we just saw. I don't know where, but that's the way we were doing it at summer boot camp, and that's the way Caleb showed us, so that's got to be right. And Caleb we trust. Alright, so, and then the last thing is, that is 30, and then we have 31. Hey, this is one I have it all set up as, oh, that's the one I changed, huh? I need to change this back. Actually, that works. Oh, I changed this one to be exactly that way. Alright, so same deal. Put this one back to assets. Okay. And then static file server, we just saw that. So, serving files. And Thursday we'll look at setting cookies and getting cookies and creating sessions. Or we could just bypass all that and jump to App Engine. But showing you guys just what we learned at boot camp over the summer and the different steps that we took to get there. So a lot of stuff is learning, you know, like the internals, the background, how it used to be done, how App Engine or Go will abstract a lot of that difficult stuff for you, you know, just so you understand what's going on behind it. But that'll be Thursday. So help me remember on Thursday, cookies. When I ask you where did we leave off, you can say cookies, man. Did you bring the cookies?
Yeah.